You're fired. Effective immediately. Clear out your desk. It was Christmas Eve, 4:47 p.m., 13 minutes before end of shift. Daniel Cooper stood in CEO Richard Morrison's office, barely able to process the words. "Sir, it was one mistake. The report had a typo. I can fix it." "I don't accept mistakes, Mr. Cooper. Especially not from warehouse managers who should know better. You're done. Security will escort you out." "But it's Christmas Eve. My daughter." "Should have thought about that before you sent me a report with errors. I run a company, not a charity. Get out." Daniel felt the world tilt. He'd worked at Morrison Logistics for 3 years. Warehouse manager. $52,000 a year, the only job that had hired him after he came home from Afghanistan with PTSD and a medical discharge. He had $340 in savings. Rent was $1,400, due in 1 week. His daughter Emma was 7 years old. He'd promised her Christmas presents, a tree, a good dinner. And now, 13 minutes before Christmas Eve ended his shift, he was fired for a typo. "Please, Mr. Morrison, I have a daughter. It's Christmas. And I have a company to run. Security!" 2 guards appeared. Daniel's military training kicked in. Don't resist, stay calm, maintain dignity. As they walked him to his desk to collect his things, Richard Morrison returned to his office, sat behind his massive desk, picked up his phone to email his assistant about the termination. That's when he glanced out the window and saw her, a little girl, maybe 7, standing in the snowy parking lot, wearing a too small pink coat, holding a wrapped present covered in hand-drawn Christmas trees, waiting for her father, who'd just been fired on Christmas Eve. Richard Morrison felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years of ruthless business dealings. Guilt. Before we continue, if you enjoy stories that move and transform us, consider subscribing to Becca's Stories. We showcase the beautiful perspectives that emerge from life's changes, offering narratives of profound moral strength and unwavering character. Now, back to our story. 3 years earlier, Daniel's first day. Daniel Cooper, 38, former Army sergeant, 2 tours Afghanistan, came home at 34 with medical discharge. Severe PTSD, shrapnel scars on back, hearing loss in right ear. Came home to find wife had left, filed for divorce while he was deployed, said she couldn't handle waiting anymore. Took everything except Emma, who was 4. "I don't want a child," his ex-wife had said in court. "You keep her, I'm starting over." So Daniel became single father, veteran with PTSD, trying to raise daughter alone. Job market didn't want him. Too many gaps in employment, too many mental health appointments, too much baggage. Morrison Logistics hired him because they had government contracts requiring veteran employment. Not because Richard Morrison cared, but because it looked good on diversity reports. Warehouse manager, $52,000. Day shift so Daniel could pick Emma up from school. Not great pay, but steady. For 3 years, Daniel worked hard, never late, never complained. Took on extra shifts during holidays when others wanted time off. Did his job quietly, professionally, gratefully. Because he remembered what it was like to have nothing, to be unemployable, to watch Emma eat cereal for dinner because that's all they could afford. This job saved them. This paycheck kept them housed and fed. And Richard Morrison had just taken it away on Christmas Eve for a typo. That morning, before the firing, Emma woke up excited. "Daddy, it's Christmas Eve. Are you coming home early today?" "My shift ends at 5. I'll be home by 5:30. Then we'll make cookies and watch Christmas movies." I made you something, a present. Can I bring it to your work and surprise you? Daniel hesitated. Sweetheart, my work is busy. Please, I want to see where you work, and I want to give you your present today. It's special. How do you say no to that? Your 7-year-old daughter, so excited to give you a handmade present, wanting to see where her dad works. Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez can bring you at 4:45. Wait in the lobby, okay? I'll come get you. Yay, you're gonna love your present, Daddy. He hugged her. I already love it because you made it. He left for work thinking, this was going to be a good Christmas. Not extravagant, but good. Emma was happy. They had enough. That was all that mattered. He didn't know that by 4:47 p.m., he'd be fired. He didn't know Emma would be standing in the snow, waiting for a father who just lost everything. He didn't know Richard Morrison would see her through the window and finally, feel something. Richard Morrison looked out his office window, phone in hand, about to confirm Daniel's termination in writing. And he saw the little girl. 7 years old, pink coat too small, wrists showing, coat barely buttoning, boots that looked second-hand, no hat, snow falling on her hair. Holding a present wrapped in newspaper, not wrapping paper, newspaper with drawings all over it. Christmas trees in crayon. To Daddy, in child's handwriting. Waiting. She kept looking at the employee entrance, bouncing on her toes, excited. Richard watched as Daniel emerged, escorted by security, carrying box with his desk contents. Watched Emma's face light up. Watched her run toward him, present held high. Watched Daniel see her. Watched his expression joy at seeing his daughter, then immediate devastation remembering he'd just been fired and she didn't know. Watched Daniel kneel down. Watched Emma give him the present, talking animatedly, clearly asking why he was leaving early, why security was there. Watched Daniel's shoulders shake. The man was crying, trying to hide it from his daughter, trying to stay strong. Watched Emma's smile fade. Watched her realize something was wrong. Watched her hug her father in the snowy parking lot. And Richard Morrison felt something crack inside his chest. He'd fired hundreds of people over 20 years, never felt guilty. Business is business. Poor performance gets punished. That's capitalism. But he'd never seen their children. Never watched a little girl in a too small coat give her father a newspaper-wrapped present in the snow while he explained he'd just lost his job on Christmas Eve. Never seen the consequence, the collateral damage, the human cost. Richard Morrison stood frozen at the window. Daniel and Emma walked to an old car, 10 years old at least, rust on the bumper, drove away. And Richard Morrison, CEO worth $47 million, stood in his corner office, watching snow fall, feeling something he hadn't felt in decades. Shame. Daniel's apartment, Christmas Eve night. Daddy, why are you sad? Daniel sat on their second-hand couch, springs broken, trying to smile for Emma. I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just tired. But you were crying. In the parking lot, and the security men took you away. Did you do something bad? No, baby, I didn't do anything bad. My boss decided he didn't need me anymore, so I don't have that job now. But it's Christmas Eve. Why would he do that on Christmas Eve? Because grown-ups sometimes make decisions that don't make sense. It's okay. We'll figure it out. Are we still going to have Christmas? Daniel looked at the small pile of presents under their Charlie Brown tree, 6 presents total, all from thrift store, wrapped in newspaper because he couldn't afford wrapping paper. Yes, we're still going to have Christmas, I promise. But if you don't have a job, how will we pay rent? 7 years old and already worried about rent. Daniel's heart broke. "Don't you worry about that. That's Daddy's job. You just worry about being 7 and enjoying Christmas, okay?" "Okay." Emma handed him the present she'd been holding. "Open your present. I made it special." Daniel unwrapped the newspaper. Inside, a drawing. Construction paper, crayons, glitter glue. A picture of him and Emma, holding hands, both smiling. Above them, in sparkly letters, "My Hero Daddy." Below, in Emma's careful handwriting, "Thank you for being the best daddy. You work so hard for me. I love you. Merry Christmas." Daniel started crying. Couldn't stop. "Daddy, do you like it?" "I love it, baby. It's the best present I've ever gotten." "Then why are you crying?" "Because I'm happy. Because I have you. Because you're the best thing in my life." Emma hugged him. "It's okay, Daddy. We have each other. That's all we need for Christmas." Richard Morrison's mansion. Same night. Richard Morrison sat in his 8,000-square-foot house, alone. His wife had left him years ago. "You love money more than family," she'd said. His kids were adults who rarely called. Christmas Eve in a mansion full of expensive things and completely empty of joy. He kept seeing that little girl. The too small coat, the newspaper wrapping. The moment her smile faded when she realized something was wrong. He'd done that. He'd taken away her father's job on Christmas Eve for a typo. What kind of man does that? Richard poured himself whiskey, drank, poured another. His phone rang. His daughter. Annual, obligatory Christmas call. "Merry Christmas, Dad." "Merry Christmas, Sarah." "You sound upset. What's wrong?" "I fired someone today. Christmas Eve." Silence. Then, "Why would you do that?" "He made a mistake on a report. A typo." "And you fired him? On Christmas Eve? For a typo?" "I run a company." "No, Dad. You run people's lives, and you just destroyed someone's Christmas because of a typo. Do you even care?" I saw his daughter, waiting for him in the snow. She had a present for him." "How old?" 7. "Maybe 7. Same age as Emma when Mom left you. Remember how scared she was? How she cried? How she asked if it was her fault?" "That's different." "It's not different. You just did to that man's daughter what losing Mom did to Emma. You took away her stability, her security, her happy Christmas on Christmas Eve for a typo." "I didn't think." That's the problem, Dad. You never think about the people you hurt. You just think about your company, your profits, your rules. Well, guess what? That little girl doesn't care about your rules. She just knows her daddy doesn't have a job on Christmas because of you. The call ended. Richard sat in silence. His daughter was right. He'd become the kind of man who fires people on Christmas Eve for typos, who cares more about perfection than people, who values money over mercy. When did he become this? When did he forget that employees are humans, with families,
with children who wait in the snow with newspaper-wrapped presents. Richard Morrison, for the first time in 20 years, felt genuinely ashamed. And he decided he had to fix this.
After Christmas, the search. Richard Morrison tried calling Daniel. Number disconnected. Probably couldn't afford phone bill. Tried home address on file. Apartment complex manager said, "You moved out, couldn't make rent. Left forwarding address, but I think he's living in his car." Living in his car with a 7-year-old daughter because Richard fired him on Christmas Eve. Richard hired private investigator. Find Daniel Cooper, former Army sergeant, daughter Emma, age 7, last known address. 2 weeks of searching. Finally, found him. He's working at Pete's Diner, night shift, washing dishes, $12 an hour. Living in extended stay motel with daughter. Richard drove to the diner. 11 p.m. Walked into the kitchen. Daniel was at the sink, washing dishes, wearing an apron too big for him. Looked exhausted. Thin. Had he been eating or giving his food to Emma? Daniel? Daniel turned, saw Richard. Expression went cold. "Mr. Morrison, what are you doing here?" I need to talk to you." "There's nothing to talk about. You fired me. It's done." "I was wrong." "Yes, you were. And now I'm washing dishes for $12 an hour, living in a motel where my daughter has nightmares because she can hear people fighting through the walls. So, congratulations. You taught me a lesson about typos." "Daniel, please." "Please what? Please forgive you? Please come back? Please pretend that firing me on Christmas Eve for a typo didn't destroy my daughter's Christmas? Didn't force us into homelessness? Didn't teach her that no matter how hard her dad works, powerful people can throw him away?" "I'm sorry." "You're sorry. Great. That fixes everything. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I want to try. I want to offer you your job back. With a raise, $70,000. And I want to pay you back for the 2 weeks you missed. And I want to pay your rent for 6 months while you get back on your feet." "Why? Guilty conscience?" "Yes, absolutely. I saw Emma, through the window, waiting for you, with that present, and I watched you tell her you'd lost your job. And I realized I did that. I took away her father's income on Christmas Eve. I'm the villain in her Christmas story, and I can't live with that." "So this is about you feeling better?" "No. This is about me trying to be better. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to let me make this right. Not for me, for Emma. She deserves better than a motel where she has nightmares." Daniel was quiet. Then, "What was on the present?" "The one Emma made." "What?" "What did her drawing say?" "I don't know. I couldn't see." "My hero, Daddy." That's what it said. "Thank you for being the best daddy. You work so hard for me. I love you. Merry Christmas." That's what my 7-year-old daughter wrote while I was at work, the work you fired me from on Christmas Eve. Richard felt tears forming. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want your money, Mr. Morrison. I don't want to work for someone who thinks employees are disposable, who fires people on Christmas Eve, who doesn't care about the children who wait in the snow. Then what do you want? I want you to be better. For the next person, for the next employee who makes a typo. I want you to remember that every person you fire has an Emma, has a child waiting with a newspaper-wrapped present, has a family that depends on them. I want you to be the kind of boss who sees humans, not just workers. I'm trying. That's why I'm here." You're here because you feel guilty. You'll feel better in a few days and go back to being who you were. I've seen it before. No, I promise. Your promises mean nothing to me. You promised me a job. You took it away for a typo on Christmas Eve. Why should I believe anything you say? Richard had no answer. Daniel was right. Promises from him were worthless. Then tell me what would prove I've changed. Tell me what I can do. Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Just be better to the next person. That's all I want. Daniel went back to washing dishes. Interview over. Richard Morrison stood in a diner kitchen, being dismissed by a man washing dishes, and realized this was the most important conversation of his life, and he'd failed it.
3 months later, Richard Morrison did something unprecedented. He changed. Not overnight, not perfectly, but genuinely. He implemented new policy at Morrison Logistics. No terminations during holidays, Thanksgiving through New Year. All terminations required HR review and CEO approval. Employees got 3 warnings before termination. New program, emergency assistance for employees facing hardship. And created veteran support program with mental health resources. His board questioned it. This makes us soft, weak. No, this makes us human. I've run this company for 20 years, treating employees like numbers. We're going to treat them like people. And if we lose profit, so be it. I'd rather have less money and more humanity. The shareholders won't like this. The shareholders can fire me if they want. But I'm done destroying families for typos. I'm done firing people on Christmas Eve. I'm done being the villain in children's Christmas stories. He personally reviewed every termination, asked questions. Does this employee have family, children, medical issues? Is this termination just, necessary, humane? He stopped 3 terminations in the first month alone, turned them into warnings, training opportunities, second chances. And something remarkable happened. Productivity increased. Turnover decreased. Employees worked harder because they felt valued, cared for, human. But Richard still thought about Daniel, about Emma, about the newspaper-wrapped present, about the fact that he'd offered money and job and been rejected. Because Daniel didn't want his money. Daniel wanted him to be better. So Richard had become better. For 3 months. Changed policy, changed culture, changed himself. But Daniel didn't know. Daniel was still washing dishes, still living in motel, still struggling. Richard called the private investigator again. Find Daniel Cooper. I need to see him. One more time. Pete's Diner, 3 months later. Richard walked into the diner. Different this time. Not arrogant. Humble. Carrying folder. Daniel, can I have 5 minutes? Mr. Morrison, I already told you. I know. You don't want my money. You don't want the job. You want me to be better. So I've spent 3 months trying to be better, and I want to show you. Richard opened folder, showed policies, showed employee assistance programs, showed mental health support for veterans, showed numbers, 0 Christmas terminations, 40% decrease in overall terminations, 60% increase in second chances given. I did this because of Emma, because I saw her waiting in the snow, because you told me every employee has a child waiting with a newspaper-wrapped present. You were right, and I've tried to change. Not for 3 days, for 3 months, because I want to be the kind of man who deserves employees like you. Daniel looked at the papers. You did all this? I did. And I want to do more. But I need help. I need someone who understands what it's like to struggle, to be treated disposable, to have a daughter waiting in the snow. I need someone who can help me build a company that values humans, not just profits. What are you asking? I'm asking you to be my partner. Not employee, partner. 20% ownership of Morrison Logistics. Salary, $120,000. Full decision-making power over employee relations. Help me transform this company into something Emma would be proud of. Something that treats employees the way you deserve to be treated. Why? Because 3 months ago, you told me to be better. I've tried, but I can't do it alone. I don't have your perspective, your experience, your empathy. I need someone who remembers what it's like to be fired on Christmas Eve, who knows the cost of cruelty, who sees employees as humans first. This is real, not guilt. It started as guilt, I won't lie, but it became something else. It became realizing I'd built a company that destroyed families, and I want to build one that supports them instead. I want Emma to grow up knowing her father didn't just survive my cruelty, he transformed it into something good. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then, I need to ask Emma. Of course. She's the one who suffered most. If she says no, the answer is no. I understand. 2 days later, Richard met Daniel and Emma at a park. Emma, now 7.5, wearing a new coat, Daniel must have saved up, looked at Richard with serious eyes. You're the man who fired my daddy on Christmas? Yes, I am. And I'm very sorry. Daddy cried. I saw him cry. I know. That was my fault. Why did you do it? Richard knelt down to her level. Because I cared more about my company than about people. I forgot that every person who works for me has a family, has a daughter, has someone who loves them. I forgot to be kind, and that was very wrong. Are you kind now? I'm trying to be. Your daddy taught me that I needed to change, so I've been trying. For 3 months. But I need help. I need someone like your daddy to teach me how to be better. Daddy says you want him to be your partner. Yes, if you're okay with it. Because you're the most important person in your daddy's life. And if you don't trust me, then your daddy shouldn't either. Emma thought about this. Then, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you have kids? I have a daughter, Sarah. She's grown up now. She doesn't talk to me much. Why? Because I was a bad dad. I cared more about work than about her. And now she's an adult and she remembers that I was always working. Never there. Never kind. That's sad. It is. I can't fix it with her, but maybe I can fix it by being better to other people's dads, like yours. Emma looked at her father. Daddy, do you want to work with him? Only if you're okay with it, sweetheart. Will he be nice to you? I think so. I think he's trying to change. Emma turned to Richard. If you're mean to my daddy again, I'll be very mad at you. I understand, and I promise I will never fire your daddy again for a typo or anything else. He'll be my partner, my equal, my teacher. Okay? Okay. But I'm watching you. Richard smiled through tears. That's fair.
6 months later, Morrison Logistics. Daniel Cooper sat in his office, corner office, his name on the door, partner under his name, reviewing employee assistance applications. Single mother needed help with rent, approved. $2,000 emergency assistance. Employee's son needed medical procedure, approved. $5,000 from company medical fund. Veteran employee struggling with PTSD, approved. Full mental health support, adjusted schedule, no questions asked. Richard knocked. How many did you approve today? 12. Is that too many? No, that's exactly right. That's what we're here for. The board complained again, said we're too generous. The board can complain. Profits are up 30%, turnover is down 50%. Employees are loyal, productive, happy. We're making more money by being kind. Funny how that works. Daniel smiled. Who would have thought? You thought. You told me to be better, and we are. Emma visited after school. She was 8 now, doing well, happy, secure. Daddy, can we get ice cream? Sure, sweetheart, let me finish this one thing. She looked at Richard. Hi, Mr. Morrison. Hi, Emma. How was school? Good, we're learning about business. I told my teacher my daddy is a partner at a company. She said that's very impressive. It is impressive. Your daddy is the best partner I could ask for. Are you still being nice to him? Every day, I promise. Good, because I'm still watching. Richard laughed. I know, and I'm glad you are. You keep me honest. After they left, Richard looked at the photo on his desk, Emma in the snow, holding the newspaper-wrapped present. He'd asked Daniel for a copy, kept it as a reminder of who he'd been, who he could have stayed, who he chose to become instead, because of a little girl in a too small coat, waiting in the snow, with love wrapped in newspaper. That image saved him, showed him the cost of cruelty, the price of caring only about profit, and taught him that sometimes the best business decision is simply being human. A CEO fired a single-dad veteran on Christmas Eve for a typo. 13 minutes before end of shift, 13 minutes before the man's daughter arrived with a present. The CEO watched from his window, saw the little girl in a too small coat, saw the newspaper-wrapped gift, saw the moment joy turned to devastation, and felt, for the first time in 20 years, shame. He tried to fix it with money. The veteran said no, said be better for the next person. Remember that every employee has a child waiting. So the CEO changed, not overnight, not perfectly, but genuinely. Changed policies, changed culture, changed himself. 3 months later, he offered not a job, but partnership, not charity, but respect. The veteran asked his daughter. She said, "If you're mean to my daddy again, I'll be very mad." The CEO promised, and kept it. 6 months later, they'd built something remarkable. A company that valued humans over profits, that treated employees with dignity, that remembered every person has an Emma waiting with love wrapped in newspaper. The lesson? Cruelty has visible consequences. We just have to look. That CEO looked out a window and saw what his decision cost. Saw a child's Christmas destroyed, a father's dignity shattered, a family's security stolen. And he chose to change. Not because he had to, because he couldn't live with who he'd become. This holiday season, remember, every decision you make affects someone's child, someone's family, someone's Christmas. Fire someone cruelly? Their daughter waits in the snow. Choose profit over people? Children suffer. Care only about perfection? Families pay the price. Or choose differently. Choose mercy. Choose humanity. Choose to see employees as people with children who love them. That CEO fired a man on Christmas Eve, saw the consequences, changed everything. You can too. Before you make decisions that destroy families, look out the window. See who's waiting. See who will suffer. And choose to be better. Not because someone's watching, because it's right. Because every employee has an Emma, and Emma is watching. Make 'em proud.
Thank you for watching this story. If it moved you, leave a heart in the comments and share what you thought. Let us know what themes or stories you'd like to hear next. We love creating narratives that resonate with you. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for heartwarming narratives that inspire, move, and remind us that one act of compassion can create ripples that change the world. And remember, before you make decisions that affect others, look out the window. See who's waiting. See who will suffer. And choose humanity. Choose mercy. Choose to be the person children are proud of. Because Emma is watching. Always. See you in the next story.